ask everybody to get seated. And I'm gonna ask if you don't have a mask on, you raise your hand and staff will provide you one. Because if you see the sign on the door, it says mask required. So if you want to stay in the chambers, you have to wear a mask while you're in the chamber. So if you raise your hand, if you don't have your personal mask, staff will provide you with one. All right, keep your hand up and then we'll bring it to you. All right, I think she's going outside to get it for you now. All right, do you have, Lauren, do we have some masks so we can? If, Lauren, would you do me a favor? There's a box of masks sitting right in that little cart. Would you give anyone whose hand is raised, give them one for me, please? If you raise your hand, she will provide you with one. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to ask everyone to get seated, and then we are going to get started. But at this time, I want to thank council members for taking the time out of their busy schedule to meet on this important issue at such short notice. Ms. Johnson had asked me, requested that we give out information to those that would be involved and clear up some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that was being put out. Secondly, I talked to Mr. Williamson on yesterday. I personally called him to let him know that this meeting is going to be no longer than an hour, but I will let him and one other person speak on behalf of all of y'all because we can't have 50 people up for 2 minutes all the time. So Mr. Williamson has agreed to be the spokesperson for the majority of the group, but if there's anybody in opposition, then if you would raise your hand, I would allow you to speak. So we want to make sure perfectly clear that we all on the same page so that it won't be no misunderstanding. So Mr. Williamson represents the people from the farm over there where this project is supposed to be going, and all those are signed up. I think he says, I understand that he's going to be speaking. Is that correct? Okay, that is correct. All right, so is it anybody who opposes this? Okay, so all right, so I'm going to ask, are all of y'all familiar with each other who oppose this?
You're talking about opposed to the burn site?
Opposed to, no, I'm talking about opposed to not.
Having Mr. Williamson speak on their behalf.
Yeah, Mr. Williamson is speaking on your behalf if you oppose to the burn site being there. But if somebody's in favor, are you in favor of it?
Excuse me, I'm in opposition to only allowing one person to speak.
That's the rule. We're setting the rules, and I talked to the neighborhood president, and the neighborhood president will represent, and whatever views you have, I'm sure it's the same views that he has. But my question to you is, are you against having the site put there? Okay, all right, that's.
Different neighborhoods.
All right, if that's, okay, fine. If that's where y'all want to do it, then, okay, it's 2 minutes a person when you get up and speak. When the time runs out, then that's it, okay? I want everybody to understand, all right, it's 2 minutes per person. If your name is on this list, we will call you, you will speak, you get 2 minutes, and then that's it, okay? All right, now, I don't want any loud outbursts, nobody being hostile to our staff. If you do, I will ask you to be escorted out. We're here for civil discourse, okay? We're here for civil discourse. I want everybody to understand that. If you get out of hand, I'm going to ask the officers to usher you out the door, and we'll ask you to leave. So we will give you enough time, 2 minutes. You state what you're going to say in 2 minutes, and then you go back to your seat. Agreed? All right.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
May I state publicly, since you're allowing 2 minutes for each person, which I agree should happen, I have a scheduled Bible study this evening, so if you see me leave early, it's not in disrespect to the line of individuals who are lining up to speak, but I already have a pre-scheduled commitment, and I do support the neighborhood in this matter.
Thank you, Reverend. All right, so we got, no clapping, please. None of that. Just hold your applause to the end of the meeting. We got 18 people that signed up, so that's 36 minutes for speakers. Okay, so now we are going to start with a presentation with our staff, and after the staff presentation, our administrator wants to say something, then I'll give Ms. Johnson a couple of minutes, and then we'll start with the audience, since this is in your district. All right, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Wes Linker, the Technical Programs Manager for Charleston County Public Works. Also, in the event of a debris generating storm or event, I am the contracted debris removal manager. So, approximately 4 years ago, maybe a little more, county staff, Public Works Department, reached out to our real estate group and said, we have a need for a piece of property. That piece of property was to serve multiple purposes. One of the purposes is to secure a property to facilitate the removal and disposal of debris following a debris-generating event, like a hurricane, ice storm, or tornado that we're accustomed to. Charleston County is the lead agency for disaster debris removal. We support all the municipalities in the county. We have 2 on-call contractors that perform the debris pickup and the volume reduction. So we have a need for this temporary debris management site all across the county. This will allow us the ability to be resilient after a storm, because after a storm, we need the roads cleared so that first responders can get to us if we need them. We can get the power back on and we can get our lives back in order. Right now, we, as the Public Works Department, are concerned that we don't currently have enough properties around the county. And we'll get into that a little bit more. The second need is for a borrow pit. So we're currently operating 2 borrow pits that are nearing the end of their useful life. The county owns these pits so that we can have a cost-effective way to get fill material for the maintenance of our rural roads. We have nearly 300 rural roads around the county that we maintain. And then recently, within the last year or so, we've been approached by the USDA stating that we have an Asian longhorn beetle infestation in the county. So therefore, we've really had to focus this need on a specific area, the Asian longhorn beetle quarantine boundary, which I'll get into a little bit more. So what is a temporary debris management site? When I started, I didn't know what one was. I've been on one before, but I didn't really know what it was called. So a temporary debris management site is where our contractors go out, they pick up all the wooded debris, and they bring it to the site and reduce it either by grinding or by burning. We have a certain set of regulations that we're bound by DHEC, the Disaster Debris Management Guidelines for South Carolina. We have to permit a site each year. So we can't permit something in perpetuity. It has to be permitted each year. And in those guidelines, there are buffers, setbacks off of roadways, surface water, tree lines, residential dwelling units. So there's a lot of guidelines and restrictions that we have on where we can actually put a piece of property, or where we can actually put one of these sites. So many of the temporary debris management sites that we've used in the past are no longer available. We've had private property owners sell them for developments. They've been converted from just open space to farmland. And sometimes we just have owners who just don't want to participate anymore. We actually lost one today. So recently, private property owners specifically in the Asian longhorn beetle quarantine boundary have just absolutely said no. We do not want to participate with the county or partner with the county at this time. So what is debris grinding? So this is a tub grinder, and I'll just play it real quick. So debris is dumped into the tub, it's ground into smaller sizes, put into a big pile, are disposed of off-site. So another option of the 2 that we really have is for burning. So some people were here for Hugo, some people weren't. Some people weren't even alive for Hugo. But during Hugo, we were doing, as a county, we were doing open burning. And open burning is just not a viable solution for anybody. So there's been a lot of technological advances since the 1989. And so enhanced burners And I'll play a quick video here. I promise it won't take long. But it's just,
Air curtain burners control the harmful smoke from open pile burning, as you see on the left. By contrast, our portable firebox model S327 in full operation is to the right. See that bit of smoke rising up as wood waste is loaded inside? That's because the air curtain has been broken. But then, notice how quickly the smoke stops. The air curtain has now closed over the top, trapping most of the particulates inside.
so that is what an enhanced burner would be. And that's what we have used in the past, and that's what we would propose to use if needed on a site. So to compare, we haven't really had, a large event since Hugo. We've responded to events in the past, Florence, Matthew, Irma. Dorian was the most recent one. It was a smaller storm for us. It was a big storm for others. It was kind of we were on the weaker side of the storm, but it still generated over 600,000 cubic yards of debris, of natural wooded debris that we had to process and get off site or dispose of. So I asked one of our contractors, give me something comparable, something that would be larger scale. He said, Bay County, Florida. We responded to Cat 5 Hurricane Michael, 2018. Bay County, similar or comparable to Charleston. That storm generated over 19 million cubic yards of debris. It was a very, very large storm, and it's something that it is probable for Charleston County at some point in time. So I also said, well, what would something like this look like? He said, I have a video from Collier County, Naples, Florida, after Hurricane Irma. He gave me a drone video that I will share real quick. So they had some issues with some logistics issues with getting a grinder. So they had to do a little more on-site storage for the natural debris before it was processed. So what you're seeing here is about 1 million cubic yards of debris that is being processed. This was one of 4 sites that they used in Collier County for about a 3.5 million cubic yard event. So just notice, kind of hard to see because it's such a large scale, but you do have right down here, that's a tractor trailer that we see going up and down 526 all the time. So for scale, this is a very large storm, and this is a large response to something that could happen to Charleston County. It's very likely to happen to Charleston County. And I could not get this to work, so please forgive me here. So what really focused our efforts, focused our attention, is this Asian longhorn beetle quarantine, the infestation and the quarantine that is associated with it. So there's a partnership between the USDA, Clemson, and a private contractor to cut down the trees, and they chip them where the trees fall, and then they take those chips to the landfill. We don't do any processing of the raw wood at the landfill now. There's a lot of state and federal regulations, but one of the big things there is any natural wood that is not growing cannot leave the quarantine boundary. And I asked the Asian Longhorn Beetle program manager, so what's the penalty if we do? She said there's up to a $594,000 fine per violation if we were to leave the quarantine boundary with wood. So that's really focused our efforts on finding a piece of property within this boundary. So the borrow pit need, again, we currently have 2 borrow pits that we have in the county. Both of them are nearing the end of their useful life. One is along Seawee Road in the north area, and then we have another one on Johns Island off of Michelle Lane. Just to kind of let you know, we average about 30 trucks per month between the two. Now, it's not 15 and 15 necessarily, and it depends. It may fluctuate depending on our maintenance needs. But we use the material out of these pits to do the maintenance on our 300 or so rural roads around the county. We do this to, we don't sell the material in these pits to private parties. It's purely for us on our private road, our county roads, and some of our canal work that we do. So now, the property that has been brought to us and said this fits the purpose and need that the Public Works Department has. There's three main parcels, or there are three overall parcels that combine to about 95 acres, a little over 95 acres, at the intersection of Humbert Road and Main Road on Johns Island. Here's an aerial image on the left. In the blue there is the National Wetlands Inventory. We don't know what the true wetlands impact is, or the true wetlands on the site is until we get on the site, but we can't get on the site yet. I know there was some questions, is it inside or outside? This is outside the urban growth boundary, shown in red there, labeled. So the property is currently zoned. There's two zonings. The northern property and the eastern property are both zoned AGR. The property in the middle is zoned AG8. Just based on a desktop analysis, again, we haven't been on the site. We could be looking at 50 to 60 homes by right now. Temporary grinding is an allowable use on the AG8 parcel, which does coincide with the flat, open areas that we would use. The site we would want to use two. We would like to do two chipping / burning operations on this site if we could. One for the Beetle and one for other Johns Island debris, so we don't commingle them, because there's a lot of different regulations for the Beetle debris versus other debris. Additional zoning and permitting requirements would be needed for a resource extraction, so that's not a by right. So next steps, I won't read all this. You guys have received this before, but the Finance Committee recommendation was tabled from earlier this month. But for the county to continue with our due diligence, or to start our due diligence, a PSA is needed before we can begin that due diligence process. With that, you guys have any questions?
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do for council members. If you got a question, you could ask this gentleman up here right now, because we're not gonna interact with the residents. So if you got a question, you can ask the gentleman up there, Reverend Middleton.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for the time today. How long have we known about this Asian longhorn beetle infestation?
December 2020, we found out about it, and we started trying to locate a property to serve as a TMD, a debris management site then.
Where do we currently dispose of the Asian longhorn beetle debris?
We haven't had to respond to an event.
Thank you.
Okay, let me go to the administrator first before I go back to another council member, because Bill, I'm sorry, we go right ahead.
Just very quickly, sir, Mr. Linker addressed some of these issues. I just want to take a quick moment, clarify a few rumors that are going around on social media and some other media outlets. Is Charleston County actively pursuing property for a new landfill? Absolutely, yes, we are. Was the property on Johns Island ever considered for a landfill? Absolutely not. Never discussed, never brought up, size was never on the table. Bees Ferry Landfill is past the halfway point of being a viable facility. Our best estimations are we've got 18 to 20 years left. So yes, we are looking now, but it was not at any of these three sites. Is the property on Johns Island being considered to be an active dirt pit that Charleston County operates to sell sand or dirt? That seems to be something that everybody thinks we're doing. That is not the case. However, if the soil would be appropriate, it's being considered to support county roads. We currently have, as Mr. Linker said, 300 dirt or earth roads in the county that we are responsible for maintaining. Of those, 107 are on Johns Island and Wadmalaw. So we're trying to get in that area to service the needs. If the soil is appropriate, the materials would only be used for county projects, as Mr. Linker said, with a minimal number of trucks. This is not what dirt pits are in Hyde Park and other places where they are full-scale operations running from 6 in the morning to 6. That's not what it would be used for. Finally, everyone seems to think that we are using this site and been talking about it for open burning. Unequivocally, the answer is no. It has never been considered. It has never been discussed by staff to have any open burning whatsoever on this piece of property. The enhanced burning does not mean open burning or extra large fires. That seems to be a little bit of confusion that some people have. It's referring to the use of air curtain destructors or air curtain burners that are used at that location. Very quickly on that, as Mr. Linker said, there are EPA standards that all that equipment has to meet. Then they have DHEC regulations that come in to say how far they can be from a house, how far they can be from different zones, multiple regulations through DHEC. They would only be used after a declared emergency, period. This is not something that would happen on a daily basis. It could be years where it would never be used. We wouldn't have had to use it in the last 2 years. They would only burn vegetative debris. This is not coming in from a neighborhood, burning tires, garbage, anything with chemicals that some other people seem to think we would be burning there. 100% vegetative debris. There seems to be some issues that things would leak into the soil. There is no leakage. These containers are self-contained. The only thing that comes out of them is a biochar product. The machines run at about, some of them up to 2,000 degrees. They actually burn the smoke. The vegetative debris that comes out of there also equals less trucks on the road going down main intersections. Because if you've got 98% potentially on some of them of what comes in, the math is pretty simple. There's a lot less trucks that are going to be coming out of there. The biochar is not a bad product. It is often used by farmers, sod producers, and large nurseries. You can buy it at Lowe's and Home Depot. Large quantities, we actually have had where in the past we have been asked for this, for people that want to purchase it. Don't know if that would ever happen. There's also a minimal amount of smoke. Again, EPA standards. There's a small amount of smoke when the machine starts. There's a small amount of smoke when any debris goes in. Vegetative debris goes in. And there's a small amount when the machine is turned off. But the main point is no open burning. This is not a dump. It has never been viewed as that. There are no tires. There are no toilets. There's nothing that's going to be out there after a declared emergency situation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tootin. Mr. Swears. Any questions?
On our 2 borrow pits now, what sort of hours do we operate those?
We would usually operate between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Unless there's some extenuating circumstances, that's our normal operation.
Okay. As far as chipping, has the county done chipping? I guess we have at Bees Ferry? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if we propose to do chipping at the Johns Island site, I assume we could establish certain times for that also, much like bar pits, you'd want to close that window so you inconvenience less people.
Yes, sir, we could do that. And there would be a buffer around the
And
entire operation.
Oh, I was going to ask, that's my next question. How noisy is the chipping process? I've heard chippers in my neighborhood, actually, in other neighborhoods, and they can be pretty noisy. Is there a way to buffer the sound from chippers?
We would have a buffer around the chipping area, but there would still be some noise because it's a diesel motor that's running.
Right, you don't know if they make any quieter chippers or if there's a way to curtain a chipper?
I do not, sir.
Okay, okay. Also, the Beetle area, one of the appealing things about this for staff has been, it is within the African beetle area. So is Bees Ferry, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so are we not able to do the same processing we could do on Johns Island at Bees Ferry? Or could we do that?
I guess it's a possibility, but.
Sir,
Can't.
it requires
stay
a
in the area.
large, flat area.
Yeah.
And the equipment, if you've been to the landfill lately, again, there's not,
No space.
according to our staff, there is no space to have lay-down area appropriate to do especially to do the air curtain burners. That would be not an option. The chipping, also apparently large, flat areas with equipment. Another issue with what chipping could go into the Beetle has to be chipped differently. If you to do it, you'd actually end up having two separate operations. It wouldn't just be one at the landfill.
Right, but that would be the same thing at the site on Johns Island. I really wasn't prepared to ask a lot of questions today. I'm looking very forward to hearing from the public, so I will actually hold any more questions until it returns to council.
Ms. Honeycutt? Ms. Johnson?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to thank the staff for putting this presentation together. It does give us more information in this presentation than what you all gave us the first time. And I was very concerned about the noise, the burning, and the traffic in reference to the proximity to the communities that's nearby this site. So the noise from the equipment that you showed, you could hardly hear yourself. So I know that's not a silent thing, operation right there. And you did mention something about the traffic is not going to be too much, but the closeness to that main road coming off of Humbert, and you see there's a lot of regular traffic that travels on that main road. And to have the trucks going back and forth at any one time, I see as a cumbersome thing. So I'm still concerned about that. And the burn site, you showed that container. We did not see a container like that before. You showed us something down in the ground the first time. Remember that with a little smokestack coming out? I do. Okay, so now you're saying this is the kind of container that you plan to use?
That would be the what our contractor would use, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, that container is actually just above ground. It's basically the same thing that's put down at the ground level that would just push it in easier depending on the equipment that's on site. So
Or goes down in the ground?
They're
Because
virtually
like
the
I said,
same piece of equipment. One's just up, one's down.
you didn't show us that before.
There was a still frame picture, yes, ma'am, that was
Down on the
not
ground.
a moving.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, I'm still in opposition to this, and I appreciate the information that you all are giving. And also, now, if we don't use this site, then the zoning that's already in place for agriculture and for, well, AGR and AGR 8?
AGR and AG8, yes, ma'am.
Right, and so I had thought that there were about 50 homes. I think you said
Between 50 and 60,
50 and 60
just based on a
homes
desktop analysis.
would automatically, they have the right to do that if we don't go along with this burn site, and that's what the owner decides that they want to do. I just want the audience to make sure that they're clear on what could happen at the site. What you are proposing is one thing, and then also what the zoning is, so please pay attention to that. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Sass.
Mr. Pryor, I do have a couple of questions. If I understand correctly, this site would only be in use during a declared emergency, and that's a declared emergency like we have when we have a hurricane or a tornado. And of course, when we have those, we have lots of debris that everybody drags out to the street from their yards and from their property and put out on the street. and the county contractors come and pick that debris up and move it. And usually we don't ever know where it goes. We just know they're picking it up, and we're glad they come get it. So in this particular case, the burning out at whatever location we would be doing this, it would only be during a declared emergency. Thank you very much.
Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Pryor. With Mr. Schweers, I'm looking forward to hearing comments.
Me too.
I did want to thank Ms. Johnson for her advocacy. There's a need here, and I appreciate staff with the presentation too, because when I see kind of the rumors and things spill out of control in a building with a smokestack spewing smoke into the air and the stories that kind of go around, it gets a little frustrating. But I thank Ms. Johnson for her advocacy for her constituents and for asking us to come and hear this. And that's, I'm happy to do it. So I'll probably have some more thoughts later, but I just want to thank her. Thank you, sir.
Oh, can I just ask one more question, because I did hear this rumor also. People were concerned that possibly this location would have something to do with us having 526 connected to this area. So, Mr. Armstrong?
And again, if this site is suitable for a borrow pit, that material would only be used on our rural roads that we have on Johns and Wadmalaw Island, which is about 107 roads.
So no connection to 526 whatsoever with this right
No,
here, the
ma'am.
Mark Clark? Okay.
No, ma'am, not remotely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So, all right, at this time, we are going to take, information from the constituents. If you will come up as your name is called, we will give you 2 minutes. We ask that you give your name and your address, and we're going to stick to 2 minutes. When you hear the buzzer go off, please stop. So first person is,
Jonathan Williamson, followed by Jean Williams.
all right, if you'll come in that order.
Before I begin, I just wanted to apologize to everyone in this room. I did not mean to overstep any other neighborhoods. It was just what went out on social media, and I just wanted to apologize to you. And I'm very sorry. I want to thank Chairman Pryor and members of the council for holding this public hearing. I want to specifically thank Vice Chairman Johnson for taking the lead on this issue. The reason that we are here tonight is twofold. The first reason is lack of communication. Public Works could have engaged the community about their needs and plans months ago. This lack of communication breeds a lack of trust, a feeling that the needs and desires of this community are not important, and rampant speculation about nefarious motives. This all could have been avoided with effective communication. The second reason is this purchase of any land on the island is an opportunity to enhance the community, not just to be considered for your utilitarian purposes. Yes, sand from the county sand pit can be used to improve our roads, and that is a benefit. But land doesn't have to be purchased to provide that benefit. As an example of community enhancement, the land could be used to provide green space now and for future generations. So we're here tonight not because of nimblism, but because of a lack of communication and the lack of understanding of the value, not the price, of the land. We are not simply saying no to the purchase of this land, but in a way we are. We realize the county has needs for land on Johns Island, but these needs have not been well defined and effectively communicated. We propose the following 6 steps going forward. Burning. Due to the proximity of neighbors and the adverse environmental effects.
Your time, all right, you got how many, I'm gonna give you, since you got 6 steps, I'm gonna give you an extra 20 seconds, and that's it. All right, so you yield your time, 2 minutes to him?
I will yield my time also if I may, Mr. Chairman.
All right, what's your name?
Andy Norman.
All right, hold on a minute. Let's do that. Is Andy Norman on there? You didn't sign up?
Up at the front door, sir.
Oh, I see it.
All right,
I've
okay,
been there,
Andy
I'm sorry.
Norman, all right.
I will yield my 2 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, and who is the young lady in the back?
2 minutes, Dr. Patricia Fair.
Dr. Patricia Fair.
I see her.
Okay, so you got 4 minutes, sir.
Point 1, Burning. Due to the proximity of neighbors and the adverse environmental effects, the community does not desire any burning on this site. If the county were to buy the property, then there must be restrictions put on the land, not restrictions on future councils to prohibit burning. These restrictions must be in perpetuity. This could be accomplished by an easement put in place at the time of purchase. Number 2, short-term plans. Prior to entering into a due diligence period, the county needs to explain to the community the need for the land on Johns Island for public works, the intended uses of the land, and what safeguards will be put in place. 3 examples of what should be included are: if a sand pit is needed, why? How many acres would the sand pit need to be? How many dump trucks a day would use the sand pit? Would the county have larger setbacks than currently required? And what happens if the county does not receive approval? Second, what exactly are other services the county has discussed? Those are vague terms. Third, what percentage of the land will be conserved as green space while the site is operating? 3, long-term plans. Prior to entering a due diligence period, the county needs to explain to the community what will happen to the site once the sand pit is depleted. If the desire of the community is that the land to be turned into green space, that cannot be developed. This could be accomplished by an easement put in place at the time of purchase. 4, community engagement. Once the county has developed and communicated their short and long-term plans for the land, the county needs to engage the community in at least 2 workshops. The first workshop would be to present the short and long-term plans to obtain community feedback. In the second workshop, the county would be able to present their revised plans based upon the comments received during the first meeting and to obtain additional comments. In both cases, the plans must be available to the community prior to the meeting so that they have time to study them. Due diligence. Only after the above steps have been taken should the county even consider entering into a due diligence period. And 6, community engagement post due diligence. At the conclusion of due diligence period, if there is one, and prior to voting on possible purchase, the county needs to publish its findings and recommendations. The community needs to then be given the opportunity to provide feedback in a public hearing. Subsequent council discussions, other than those strictly proprietary, need to be held in public, not executive sessions. If the council feels the county can't do the above, then we recommend you simply vote to not proceed with due diligence. The argument may be made by some that none of the above steps can be done until due diligence is entered. That's like saying you're in the market for a house for a very large family. So what do? You put a contingency contract on a 1-bedroom house to see if it meets your needs. None of us would do that. First, we would determine our needs and then discuss them with our spouse, therefore the community, before we would even consider looking for a house or a piece of land. We have proposed 6 reasonable steps the county needs to take. At their heart, they will all involve communication. As you can see, there are many people in this chamber who oppose the approach taken so far. I have with me tonight over 2,000 signed signatures on petitions that are also in opposition. I hope you take into serious consideration what I've said today, what you're about to hear from other speakers, and the desire of the other 2,000 people who signed the petitions. Finally, I would like to say to the community gathered here today to please state your case to this council with the same level of respect that you'd want to be treated by them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person?
We have.
Next person.
I'll
get to that. Next person, please.
Gene Williams, followed by Herb Foster.
My name is Jeannie Williams. I live at 3211 Old Pond Road on Johns Island. And I've watched as our roads have become so congested that what used to take me 10 minutes to get to my job on Savannah Highway now takes me near 40, 45. You talked about the quarantine boundary in Mr. Linker's presentation. That boundary extends tremendously all around Charleston County. It includes part of Dorchester County. It includes Hollywood, Megget, all of that area. My question is, the city or the county, if I'm not mistaken, just sold 700 acres in Adams Run. Now, why would we do that when they have a population of 1,726 people, according to the latest census numbers? And because of all the development on our island, we have in excess of 22,000, according to the latest census. We've got no improved infrastructure, and these trucks that are bringing in this debris during God knows what hours, hopefully they're, Ms. Johnson, thank God for standing up for us, you would have some kind of control over limiting their times. But our roads are so devastated over there, there's barely a single one you can go down without it having pothole after pothole after pothole. In fact, the bridge on our road is now having to be replaced, even though it was just repaired 3 years ago because of all these heavy trucks. In addition to that, I'm afraid I don't buy into the fact that there's no damage to our groundwater. The chipping noise is extremely loud, as I've heard areas in our, the trees getting cut down and them chipping them. I did contact Bees Ferry Landfill, and they said they are taking the debris and they are chipping it now. We've got another 18 or 20 years for that. So why could we not take this plan, put it in somewhere that is not getting overpopulated? We don't have infrastructure as it is to support this, and then add the supposed air containers. You still have that diesel engine right there burning. So please consider this and put it somewhere else and not on us.
Thank you. Next. Please, no applause, please. No applause.
Herb Foster, followed by Lewis Nexon.
Herb Foster, 4024 Brown Trout Drive. That's the community known as St. John's Lake, a new community. Myself, 3 other neighbors went to every door in that community, and we only had 2 people that would not sign the petition that we submitted. And they wasn't a hard no. They said, I'd like to look into it some more. And this has been very informative. We understand the need for the facilities that you require. This land is too close to residential areas, too close. I would suggest to council, take a field trip, drive from Maybank down Main to 17 at 4 o'clock one day. Took me 55 minutes to go 2 miles. That's normal traffic. Imagine the 100,000 loads, over 100,000 loads of truck debris, even if it's intermittent, even if it's only several years. There simply isn't the road structure there. Our community is solidly a no on this. Please don't go forward with it.
Lewis Nexon, followed by Pete Salvo.
Hello, my name's Lewis Nexon, 4041 Humbert Road. I'm here today because Johns Island doesn't have any representation. It's kind of appalling that the county council would think of anything to spend money on before the roads, the trash, the recreation, and all the stuff that the 22,000 people in Johns Island need. To think that they'd spend any money on anything that I heard twice, oh no, we're not going to use it for years, only in an emergency. We need different representation. We need people that come to the island, that live on the island, that experience the problems of the island, and it's a joke. 12 years ago, someone was elected on the platform of improving drainage, roads, and recreation. I've had 3 kids since then. Nothing's improved. I pay taxes on 3 acres on Johns Island on Humbert Road. So to think that I've called for 2 years and said, please clean my ditch, please address the problems that we have, dump trucks all day up and down the road, nothing's been done, nothing. And I'm so fed up, and it's hard to be respectful when so many times I've called. And luckily I've called somebody with the county every time and said, hey man, I just did this. Please follow up. Please see if anything's done. And nothing's ever done. It's crickets. I've offered my time, my money, my vehicles, anything, my kids' service, my family service. Can we please do something about this? And nothing's ever done. No callbacks. One time I called and the phone was set down on the desk. I could hear it click. And I'm sitting there thinking, I deserve more respect than that. I moved here. I pay taxes. I call and I try to help, and nothing's done.
Thank you, sir.
that we're doing $100 million project at Main and 17?
Yeah, okay. Before you speak, Ms. Honeycutt, I'm going to give you a minute. Go
I
ahead.
just want to make clear, because I'm not sure everybody's aware of it, and I know when things immediately impact you is when you start to listen, but the county's been working for 3 years on a huge expedited NEPA project at Main and 17. $100 million we are spending, and they're supposed to start construction next year. So I hope you all know that we do work for this community and that we are in the process of improving the very infrastructure that we're talking about.
Hey. Any more of that, and we're going to clear the chambers. Now, I asked you
Feel
from the
free to go to
beginning-
Main Road Corridor online.
And I asked you from the beginning to be respectful. So to call somebody a liar, that's not being respectful. And the next person that's out of order, Mr. Policeman or Mr. Sheriff Deputy, I'm gonna ask you to escort him out of here. Now, we're here for a civil conversation, not to lash out at somebody and call him a liar. I'm not gonna put up with it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Salvo, and then followed by Ronald Ladson.
Pete Salvo, 1780 Southwick Drive, Johns Island. I've been listening to this. I'm hearing about dirt roads on Johns Island, Walmart. Anybody that drives on those dirt roads after it rains knows that you need a four-wheel drive vehicle to get up and down, and it's been that way for God only knows how long. Another thing, too, is that this noisemaker chipper that y'all got, do y'all realize that this thing is within less than 2 miles of a church that has a daycare center with children? And they're going to have to listen to this thing every day, 5 days a week, plowing in their ears. And another thing, the roads on Johns Island are in terrible shape. And y'all want to bring these heavy trucks over there, loaded down with lumber. It's not going to help. The roads are potholes in them. And all I can say is that the roads on Johns Island, if it wasn't for the roads on Johns Island, Charleston wouldn't have the name the Holy City. Okay? That's how bad those roads are over there. I mean, I drive a four-wheel drive truck, and that truck, it bounces all over the roads over there sometime. It's just terrible. Y'all cannot be bringing this stuff over there. These heavy trucks, they'll be tearing the roads up worse than what they are. Nobody cares. I've talked to DOT over and over about roads over there. They put me off saying it's the city's problem. The city tells me it's DOT's problem. So where do y'all come in with this problem? You know, where does the county come in? Can we not get no help from y'all? Y'all supposed to be helping us, not hurting us. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Next person.
Ronald Ladson, followed by Isaiah White.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. First, to the gentleman who spoke on enhanced burning, I believe that no burning should be allowed. To the council, I'd like to address to you. I have one question that
Address, give us your address, sir. Your address, you forgot to give us your address.
Oh, sorry about that. My name is Ronald Ladson, 1913 South Grimble Road.
Thank you.
James Island. As I was stating, I'm asking you to do one thing. Just honor and respect the voice of the people, because you're the reason why they're there. And to the people, keep the faith, keep the fight, because better days are ahead.
Isaiah White, followed by Deborah Mims.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Isaiah White. I live at 1081 Branches Drive, Jones Island. That's off of Humbert Road. And I just want to reiterate on some things I talked about last meeting. To me, this burn pit, incinerator, however you want to put it, isn't a good fit for our area. We have a lot of houses in the area. You touched on the fact that the groundwater may not be affected. Okay, I understand that. But there's some other things too. You said the incinerator will not produce anything. You got a curtain. So you're telling me you're gonna burn at that heat and 100% of that particles and stuff gonna be contained in that container, nothing's going to go in the atmosphere. Okay? Thirdly, the traffic. The traffic is bad over there. We heard about the upcoming relief for the 17 area, but as of right now, it's bad over there right now. We have had dump trucks, because there's a pit on Chisholm Road. We have dump trucks been coming through Humbert Road, and it's awful. You can't even walk the road in the afternoon because you don't want to get run over. There ain't no room on the side of the road, the rock road back there. So I'm just saying, I'm asking you, just do the right thing. Do the right thing for the citizen in that area. We don't want the pit there. We're asking you, you got time, try to find another area. We got churches, we got residents, we got a whole lot of people around there. The picture you showed in Florida, the overview, I didn't see any houses around there. I see a bunch of acres, but I didn't see any houses unless you didn't zoom in far enough. But if you take an aerial shot of that 95 acres, you got Holloway Court. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Deborah Mims, followed by Frank Sierra.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Mims. I live at 2762 Summer Trees Boulevard on Johns Island. And I am opposed to this, and my concerns are health and environmental for all the homes that are in the area, the vulnerable children that are at Angel Oak Elementary and St. John's High School within 3 miles, the Child Learning Center within 2 miles, farms and livestock. There's many horses, cows, and crop farms in the surrounding area, including a goat and dairy farm that's right on Humbert Road. And we have restaurants and small businesses in that area. And I'm concerned about the truck traffic. Even though I know we are spending millions of dollars on this main road improvement, why are we wasting millions of dollars on roads that are going to be destroyed by trucks? These trucks can only carry, if it's a large dump truck, 14 tons. And we've talked about thousands of tons that need to be transported. I'd ask you to consider to just abandon this whole idea and forget about having the borrow pit as well as the burning. It's environmentally not safe. I don't believe for a minute that it won't affect people. And I'm immunocompromised. My husband has lung issues. You've got all these elderly people that live in that area that have been there for forever. You just need to, and I appreciate you, Ms. Johnson, for standing up against this, but we really need to be more respectful of the people that live there, the people that are going to live there with all the houses that are being built, and be respectful of our wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Frank Sierra, followed by Millicent Middleton.
Yes, please, Frank Sierra. I like to give my time to somebody else. I didn't realize when I signed in.
Okay.
Next person.
Millicent Middleton, followed by Terrell Cook.
Good evening, everyone. And once again, thank you to the whole council for allowing this meeting and allowing us to speak. My name is Millicent Trey Middleton from Walmart Island, 6728 Maybank Highway.
Can I get your physical address for the record?
I just said it. You want me to
Said
say it
Walmart
again?
Island.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. 6728 Maybank Highway.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. I'm not going to stand here and repeat everything that mostly everybody is saying, but my great concern is, as an activist in that region for over 6 years, we've been going to countless meetings for highway infrastructure, traveling back and forth to Columbia to beg to put this under one umbrella so no neighborhood would be in bad standings, no matter where we are in Charleston. But more than that, we sat before meetings at St. John's High School, saw the plan for the future. That was not one of them. And showing us that highways would have been redeveloped by now. It hasn't. I think that instead of bringing a big project like that, that's going to affect our breathing, I'm asthmatic, so I'm concerned, and I have a well water. I'm afraid, as well as others, that our water would be contaminated. At the end of the day, we need to stick to the plan and focus on what's been already brought to the public, and let's work on those first before we bring anything else new. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Terrell Cook, followed by Jerry Moore.
Before I start, can I just ask a quick question? Do we just make a comment, or can we actually ask a question and get an answer from the staff?
Comment.
Just a comment. Okay, I just want to. And Jenny, I'm sorry that you had to hear that earlier. That was not nice from whoever said that. Thank you very much for listening to us. It sounds to me.
Your name
that-
and address.
Oh, sorry. Terrell Cook, 3914 Gift Boulevard, Johns Island.
Thank you.
You know, we've got the Bees Ferry landfill that we all know about. It's over 300 acres. It is inside the actual Asian longhorn beetle quarantine area. And you just heard the staff say that it's a possibility to use that for the mulching operations that you're proposing to have for this particular piece of property. We all know that that's where mulching does occur currently. So it's very unsettling for all of us in this audience to hear that you're looking for another site, which is actually on an island that only has 2 bridges to get onto it. Heaven forbid we have some catastrophic hurricane that you're proposing the site for that knocks one of those bridges out. How are you going to actually get the debris from the other surrounding areas to that site? The site that you have at Bees Landfill is much more accessible. The areas to the south, where we're talking Ravenel, Hollywood, and the like, are much more easily accessible. Their population density is far less than the island that we live on. So I would strongly recommend that you guys think very heavily about this. Give us a little bit more communication, because quite frankly, you know, we're just now hearing about this. We heard earlier that y'all been looking for 4 years for a piece of property. Nobody in this room probably ever knew that until February the 1st. That's what, February the 9th. You see who's already shown up in a short amount of time. So we just would hope that you'd have more communication and you would share that with us before you make a decision.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jerry Moore, followed by Curtis Rumpf.
Yes, I'm Jerry Moore from 3432 Great Egret Drive, Johns Island. There are 2 primary things that we're talking about here, and of course it's wood burning, or whatever you want to call it, and the dirt mining. And the concerns behind those are the health, the traffic, and the roads. Now, there are other people that will be concerned about this other than just the citizens, but right now we're talking about the developers that are coming into Johns Island. There's big bucks coming in there, and when they find out what is planned, they're not going to be happy about it. We've got property there. We've got houses that have not been sold. They're going to be sold. We've got lots that don't have houses on them. I live in the St. John's Lake area. There's probably about 50 lots that haven't even been started. Our developer, and I assure you, I will find out who he is, who they are, and I'll give them a call and let them know. There are townhouses going up within a mile of that location. I live within 3/4 of a mile. You hear my voice. I've got a chronic condition, and even if there's dust kicked up, it bothers me. There's a lot of people in our area have concerns like this, and I'm sure you will hear from them later on when you start having people pop up and writing things with letters to the editor and all that stuff. But you need to think about the developers. They got a lot of money invested over there. Johns Island is a place that it's growing. So we feel like we've been getting the back end of everything here in Charleston. Everything's dumped on us, you know. Our roads really suck. And ma'am, I'm sorry, please don't roll your eyes when somebody says something about the roads and all.
Address us, not her.
Okay, the citizens
All right, thank you, sir.
and businesses are concerned, and the churches on that road.
Thank you.
Curtis Rumpf, followed by Tom Garrett.
Hi, I'm Curtis Rumpf. I live at 4610 Chisholm Road on Johns Island. And I'd like to just tell you the experience I've had from living next to an area that had a burn pit. I lived before I came here in Jersey City in New Jersey. You can Google Jersey City burning incinerators. And let me tell you what you got to look forward to. When they burn, your eyes are going to burn. That acrid smoke is going to fill your lungs. That smoke is carried on the wind, and the wind carries. You're going to experience that acrid smoke in Hollywood. You're going to experience it all throughout Johns Island, on James Island, and it's unpleasant. I live here. My family has lived here. It's a farm community. We do not want that burn pit here. They raise horses and cattle and children. We don't need that here. You can find somewhere else to start your burn pit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tom Garrick, followed by Leroy Blake.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody back here too, I hope you can hear me well. My name is Tom Garrick, 5140 Chisholm Road, Johns Island. I want to put some information to you guys that you probably don't know. I learned after being a long-time South Carolina resident that Chisholm Road on Johns Island is the second most sought-after road on the East Coast for bikers and bicycles to ride up and down the road on our beautiful road. It scares me to think we want to take that away from us. It really does. The second thing that concerns me greatly is that the borrow pit, I've already lost 2 to 3 feet of my fresh water supply on Johns Island. We have a problem with people digging holes, and to dig those holes, to take the dirt out, you have to pump all the water out that's rainwater that we use. The problem is they take that rainwater and don't pump it back into the ground, they pump it into the creek. So we're losing our water supply on Johns Island. And why would you take a beautiful barrier island that protects us from hurricanes and make it a less place to live? So please help us out on this. I talked to Ricky Miller. Does anybody in here on your group not know who Ricky Miller is? Everybody does. The council bought, 360 acres down in Hollywood's area, Ravenel, for a project of some type of pit down there or a landfill. I understood that he and his crowd down there fought and drug this out for 4 years, and that land is now up for sale. Am I incorrect on that? Okay. I don't think anything less is going to happen with this property here on Johns Island. Thank you very much.
Leroy Blake, followed by John Slogar.
Council members, thank you very much for allowing us to do this. My name is Leroy Blake. I reside at 1124 Main Road. If you guys get an opportunity again, look at that schematic where that 95 acres is. 1124 is right in front of that area. My parents and grandparents lived there all of our lives. I am now 73 years old, so that's way more than 100 years in that area. This burn pit is going to be more of a problem to us than it is. I will not bore you with talking about the environmental issues that we have already talked about, but what I will ask a couple of questions. Are these, and I know you said we don't want any answers, but I want you to think about the question. And the question is, are these beetles only on Johns Island? Secondly, the new subdivision, the 2 new subdivisions that are on Main Road, are being built on Main Road, they tubbed all of their trees that they cut and moved them off the island. Where to beats me. If we need more dirt, then do like most folks do, pave the roads. Dirt roads are almost non-existent, except in Charleston. The last thing is, this area, when I was a younger person and used to hunt, go out behind my house and go out to that area, and there's a stream that runs there, that runs all the way behind my property and goes to Back Penn Road. When they put Back Penn Road in, they put the pipes in so the water could continue running. So if we are going to put a burn site there or have a borrow pit, that's gonna create a lot more problems. I also have a fish pond in my backyard, and if you have another pond dug, my fish will die because my pond went 2 feet lower than we did this several years ago. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
John Slozar. Okay, that's everyone?
Okay, that's everyone. All right. Thank you for those who took the time to come out and give us your opinion and your suggestions. And so before we adjourn, I want to ask any other council member, do they have anything or any question for staff, the administrator, before we adjourn? Pardon me, Mr. Moody?
Over me. Okay. Yeah, I'll make some comments, Mr. Pryor. Thank you for recognizing me. I don't know if this is the place. I don't. But the emails that we get say, send it to the landfill, which the administrator says we cannot do, and that's another issue. Send it to North Charleston because that's where it belongs, which is very aggravating, and not here. That's going to be the same argument from everybody, whether we do it in, if we do it in Bagot, Adams, wherever. If we have to do one and look at one in the northern end of the county, Mr. Sass, Mr. Schweers, your constituents are going to say the same thing. Do it at the landfill. Administrator said we can't do it there. Stick it in North Charleston. That's where it belongs. Not here. The landfill has got, Mr. Tootin, I disagree only slightly. I think it's got more like 15 years left on it. Who's going to raise their hand and say, yeah, put a landfill over here? West actually didn't ask for it 50 years ago and got it stuck in their backyard. So I say that, and again, I don't know if this is the spot. I'm not trying to pick on these good people who came out, but we're going to hear this from everybody regardless of where these things go. And this council has got to, we're going to have to make some tough decisions. And I don't know what that is yet, but saying the same, y'all had a chance to speak. Saying stick it in North Charleston where it belongs or stick it at the landfill and not here, those three options just, to me, are not viable. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Sass?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question from what I heard tonight from the audience, and I guess I need to talk to our Public Works gentleman. And maybe I misunderstood this, but towards the end of this meeting, I got the impression that people thought that debris was going to be brought from other places onto Johns Island. That's not true, right? The debris that would be there would be all from Wadmalaw or Johns Island. It wouldn't be coming from anywhere else to Johns Island. It would be debris that got made or came from that area. Is that correct?
Right now, we don't have a second source or second place to put debris within the quarantine boundary.
Right.
We are actively looking for one, so debris from the quarantine boundary would have to come to this site.
Okay.
But all other debris on we don't currently have a place to reduce debris on Johns Island anywhere. So anything from any debris picked up by our contractor on Johns Island would have to be transported off of Johns Island. Now, we have a private property owner who we have worked with in the past, but that private property owner may or may not agree to continue to work with us.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, sir. I'd like to get a little survey of the audience, since I did ask for the Johns Island residents to come out and let me know how you feel about this. So if it's okay to get a survey here now, sir. I'd like to see the people who are in support of the county continuing on to buy this piece of property. If you are in support, could you stand, please, so I could see those people? Okay, so everybody that's sitting is in opposition of making the purchase. Okay. One more question then. I heard some talk about Greenbelt, possibly the county, if we wanted to purchase the property, we could use the property for Greenbelt space. So if you, and let me tell you, that's basically where the county will purchase properties for, for use for park and recreation, or, something other than for building. Okay? So like if you have,
No, sir, you had your chance.
some concerns about flooding in the area, I think I heard that one time, that possibly, something could be done with that in the area. So if you are in support of the county possibly purchasing the property for Greenbelt, not very many. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, Ms. Honeycutt?
I did want to take a minute to thank Mr. Williamson for coming with some proposed solutions to have a constructive dialogue about this. And I would be willing to do all 6 of those items as we consider this further.
All right, Mr. Swears?
Ms. Honeycutt, I would agree. I fear that really it's a choice here. It's 55, 60 homes, or it's the county can do the things that the county staff feels like we need to do. So I think if the proposal was 60 homes, if it wasn't by right, which it is by right, but if it wasn't by right, we'd probably have an equally full crowd here saying, no, don't build 60 homes on that tract. So that does exclude the wetlands on it, by the way, and it still enables that many homes. So, the county staff has said what they feel like we need to do on that property. I think the key, perhaps, if there is any kind of compromise, is for the county to lock in the things we won't do on the property. And perhaps a longer-term solution could be that we designate specifically what we will do, because we've said we won't do a lot of things. So I think if we can somehow lock that in where we can't do those things we said we would not do, then perhaps there is some sort of compromise in there. And perhaps in the long run, the property will convert over to let's say, a very, very low density use for housing. Instead of the 60 homes, maybe you end up with 5 or 6 homes. Some way for the county to recover its asset in the long run. But I think there's some middle ground there. But I do think right now it's perhaps either or. The either or is the county buys it outright and does whatever the county can get permitted, versus a developer buys it and puts as many homes as they could possibly put on it. So I really don't think there's much else in play there.
Please, I've asked y'all not to address, we've given y'all time, so please be respectful.
Mr. Chairman.
We didn't interrupt y'all when y'all were speaking, so please don't interrupt the gentleman.
Okay.
Mr. Evans, real quick. Mr. Evans, is it possible if we put it in a PD to prevent or to do exactly what Mr. Schweers is saying, where we define the various uses of it?
That's one avenue that could be taken to limit the uses, yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a question?
No, sir, you've had your time. No, sir. Put your hand down, because we're not going to ask some more questions. Answer any more questions, sir, please. No, sir. You've spoken, and so it's time to move on.
Sir, it's a logical question. Is the
No,
county
sir.
determined
Okay,
by the property or
so
not?
we about to move on from this meeting, but, I want to say, I sat quietly while everybody else was talking, and I don't think there's nobody more sensitive to putting these sites in neighborhoods than I am. Growing up, on Daniel Jenkins' project, we had a dump right in our backyards where the old Baker Hospital site was. And, seeing those kind of things in the neighborhood and all the environmental issues as well as the health issues, it makes you want to say, not in my backyard, and people say not in my backyard, but they don't understand the impact of it. They had the incinerator where my parents bought a house after they leave off the Diligence project. For 25 years, those folks experienced loud noise at night, all kind of ashes and all kind of fumes coming out, and again, health issues and environmental issues. And so after listening to the crowd and seeing, all these people out here that say they don't want it, I don't think whatever we do to try to make it right, it's not going to be a good partnership. So I'm prepared, and I'm saying I'm going to be a no vote to buying this property because I just, please. I just, I've always said, I never want to go someplace I'm not welcome. And we will task staff, if this doesn't go through, to look some other places to make this happen. But as I said before, this council can make promises, but past council cannot bind future council. And that's just always been my perspective on that. And the lawyer's not here, that's a legal question. But after we leave, you can get 5 new members to come in and say they want to change it and do something else. And, it may be a fight, but it probably will get done. And so I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I appreciate the candor and the conversation. I know it's emotional, but we must respect each other. And whoever called Ms. Honeycutt a liar, you need to apologize to her because that was wrong. And you didn't want nobody to call your wife a liar. These people take the time out of their busy life to serve. These things get contentious and they get heated, but it doesn't have to get, uncivil, or we don't have to be disagreeable. So again, I ask that person, whoever you were, you owe Ms. Honeycutt an apology because she's only going based on information that she received. And how would you like somebody to call you a liar in public? Meeting adjourned. And like,